Now we're starting. Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. We're here. This is Bill Leuenberger, our retired founder of the Soil and Turf Department of Chalet Landscape Company. And you know me, I'm Jennifer Brennan. I'm the horticulture information specialist here, and my marketing director just called me the Zoom queen. I think now, just because I said that, I'm going to have trouble. But please not. Okay, so we have 7 participants. Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome. We will be getting started in 5 minutes, and I hope you all got the outline, or that it's actually a handout. And just so you know, everything that you're going to see on the screen in the PowerPoint presentation is on here. That's why it was 10 pages. And we're actually talking, and Bill's going to be talking about the Soil and Turf Department, because we wanted to feature that as much as the services that the retail store provides to the do-it-yourselfers. So this is going to be a fun one. We've been working together for gosh, about a month and a half now to kind of get this all kind of put together. And you were saying, tell them what you told me about this year being. Yeah,
this year has been a year unlike any year I've ever seen. And just the soil temperatures, the air temperatures,
lack of rain,
and the style in which we got the rain. We didn't have any rain in spring. We had rain during the summer.
5 days, right. 5 days, and we got 4.5 inches in 5 days. Oh my God, and it was like drinking a gallon of water on Sunday and then waiting a month and saying, well, are you hungry? Are you thirsty yet? Of course you'd be thirsty, so.
Yeah. It's a challenging year, and I'm sure there's a lot of lawns out there that are suffering. That we normally call the browning of the lawns a summer dormancy, not necessarily a stress. This year it's stress. And hopefully, we're not sure how lawns will come back, how they'll respond. We're hoping they're going to come back and we won't have too much damage.
But we have a good plan. We have good plans to give you some really good ideas
today.
Good
ideas that'll help.
So I'm going to check this to see. Oh, we've got 12 people. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. We have 3 minutes before we get started, and I'm going to do like a public service announcement. We're going to do the presentation first, and then we will stay on as long as needed to answer your questions. So to make it easier for us to process, there's 2 different columns. There's the Q&A column and then the chat box. If you will be so kind as to put your questions in the Q&A column, then we can process them better at the end of the presentation, and that way we get to them in a more organized fashion. So if you'll do that'll be fantastic. So again, and looking at the time, we have 2 minutes to go.
2 minutes.
2 minutes to go. So Bill and I have worked together I've been at Chalet for 30 years, and Bill and I started working together the first year that I came on board full time at Chalet. So that's been 30 years.
Yeah. Oh, it's been a while.
And we started out doing some of the first lectures, that turned into the Learning Center. But we started out, the very first lecture that we did here in the store, and it was in the main floor of the main store. The merchandisers hated me because we had to tear all the displays down and set a bunch of chairs up. And it was Bill and I talking about fall lawn care. It was the very first lecture that we ever did together. And
they're historical.
Yeah, and we've been doing them almost every year. Every year. So this is kind of fun. We did fall lawn care as a Zoom last year. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we weren't. No, I wasn't nearly as good at Zoom back then. So
She's a Zoom queen.
I've gotten pretty good, but I got to tell you. Okay, 1 more minute till noon. I got to tell you, anytime I brag about my Zoom abilities, then the Zoom gods get me, they do something. So everyone pray that the Zoom gods don't get me today. Okay. So they won't because Bill is here, isn't that how it always goes? Okay. So now everyone, we've got, I'm going to do the share the screen with our PowerPoint. Here we go. And here it is. And of course, we were practicing with it. And I just realized it's the very end of the presentation. So hold on. We're going to do it from the beginning. Oh, she says, uh-oh. Don't you hate that? Okay, let's do this. Slideshow. There it is. Yay! Everybody applaud. Okay, so here we go. This gorgeous photo is down at the Chicago District Golf Course. CDGA. Chicago District Golf Association. It's Golf Course Superintendents Association, I think.
Right.
And
in Lamont, Illinois.
And right next to the great golf course. And I'm just
Cog Hill.
Oh yes, Cog Hill.
Yeah, it's across the street from it.
Yeah. And one of our favorite people has just come back. His name is Dr. Derrick Settle, and he's one of the top researchers there. And Bill and I just get so much information from him. Yeah. And so I'm going to just move ahead. Here's Dr. Settle. And there's the logo of the Chicago District Golf Association. There we go. Right. There we go. I should have put this slide up. And this quote by him was very, very significant. He said, this year's Chicago's especially dry conditions that began in spring were interrupted by a series of rain events that began during the second half of June. Saturated soils about midsummer resulted, and this was all that was needed to trigger all of the root rots on our turf grasses. Once started, the effects can be long lasting. And that's what we're dealing with right now with a lot of the lawns. And that's why. So I just want to let you know that when the specialist says this makes us listen. And he is technically the senior director of the turfgrass programs. He left there. We met him, oh my gosh, I think 20 years ago, right, or 15. Let's give him a break. Yeah. We met him 15 years ago, and we would go out to research events, probably 4 times a season, right, 3 times a season out there. And we would learn the latest research by all the researchers in the Midwest. And then he left and went with the Bayer agropharmaceutical company, and then just came back this year. So yay, we love having Dr. Settle back. Derrick, we know Miss Derrick. Okay, so this is the wrong spot on the screen. Here we go. Oh, this is really significant. This is from Syngenta company, and they do a lot of the turfgrass products, commercial and the products that were used in the retail store. And this was so significant that I twisted Bill's arm into letting me put this in here, because this is a chart of the soil temperatures. And the blue line at the top is this year, and this is in July through August. And you can see what's so significant is look at the very last number in August, 84 degrees. It was actually 85 the next day in the soil. Horrendous. And then you thought last year was hot, and we all thought it was hot. Last year's line is the black one going all across. And the hottest it ever got in the soils last year was 78. So this is so significant. I'm going to let Bill talk about it.
This is getting close to what warm season grasses like Bermuda grass would want to grow in.
Down in Florida.
Right. And when you think about it, they cannot grow bluegrass in Florida during the summer. And so that's what's made it so difficult for us this year, is just the fact that our soil temperatures are so hot that it goes beyond dormancy. I mean, in some cases, it actually cooked the crown of the plant. So we will see quite a bit of death, but we'll work on that.
Another report that I saw stated that this is as shallow as the roots have ever been in a decade here. And then those are the roots of the cool season turf grasses. They're that shallow. They're less than 3 inches deep because of the hot soil. So after saying that, I'm hoping all of you out there are feeling a little better, that it's not just your lawn that you think looks horrible, and it's not just your lawn that looked so beautiful in the spring and you just don't understand what happened. And that's what we're all saying. And you know, there are commercials too, commercial ones also.
Oh, without a doubt. A lot of our lawns, even though from year to year, everyone says, well, you kept my lawn looking so good. This year, it's very, very difficult. It's out of our control at some point. When you have the temperatures like we've had, it's just out of anyone's control.
It's Mother Nature's fault.
That's
so,
right.
You know, pass that word to everybody. Okay. You say, it's not my fault. It's Mother Nature. So, okay. So now I'm going to let Bill talk about the commercial side. And, if you are just sick and tired of taking care of your lawn, we have the soil and turf division of Chalet, and take it away, Bill.
Right. The things to think about is why you would want to use a lawn care company such as our lawn care division or our soil and turf department, is the fact that sometimes you don't want to be storing your own products. So a lot of times people will look to a lawn care company, and our lawn care company we consider by far one of the best. Our philosophy is using organic fertilizers. That's NatureSafe is the primary organic fertilizer we use. It's got the proper NPK. Our philosophy, it's in the soil. We look to the soil and the needs of the soil. Our philosophy is to give the soils the best possible chance that they can to be able to develop healthy root systems and fight off diseases. This particular product, this 835, is all organic. NatureSafe products are all natural for the most part. There are some that are considered bridge products, where you have a little bit of synthetic. They're considered kind of organic synthetic nitrogens in them. But they're constructed.
That gives a quicker green
It
up.
just gives it a little quicker, and it's at a time when you can actually, the lawn is capable of taking it up. When we look at summer applications, we generally use a straight organic nitrogen fertilizer in the soil.
I have to brag about Bill. He was instrumental in helping to advise the owners of NatureSafe in the development of it. And one of the things, right in the middle here is that, they're meal based. It's meal based,
right,
instead of
manure.
No manure
Right.
at all.
Right, and manures have the tendency, manures are not bad for your lawn, but they have the tendency to break down a little bit quicker, whereas with the meals, it's a longer lasting feeding, and it actually feeds a lot more microbes in the soil. It doesn't kill any microbes in the soil. It has this particular product has the highest amino acid concentration of any commercial fertilizer. It's just a slow, even feed that it really does minimize the top growth. You don't want a lot of surge growth in your lawn, and that's what's good about NatureSafe, is that it slows that down, and sometimes with heavy surge growth, you get more diseases and what have you.
And I'm going to translate a turf guy talk. When you talk about surge growth, you know about the top grows more quickly. And a lot of people say, well, I don't like to fertilize my lawn because I have to mow it more often. And by using these organics, it's just a slow release long term, and you don't get that surge. You don't get that quick regrowth at the top that is softer and more susceptible to diseases. So that one of my jobs is to translate.
Right. Well, what it takes also, it takes the microbes in the soil. It actually takes the soil to break down the fertilizer to give the nitrogen to the grass. Unlike synthetics are generally contact the soil particles, and the charges hold that nitrogen to the soil until the grass takes it up. So
Yeah.
that's the,
And it's water activated.
right.
It's water activated instead of temperature activated and microbe activity activated. So don't you love science? Don't you love science? You know, I got to get my geeky glasses on, don't I? Okay, so now, and so then here's the other benefit of, or
Yeah,
NatureSafe.
yeah, again, there's some benefits on the screen. You know, keep in mind that a few of these NatureSafe fertilizers are bridge products, so they'll add a little bit of nitrogen at certain times, as we said before. But the form of nitrogen that they use is methylene urea, which is a slow base long acting type nitrogen. It's top of the line, and they're all organic based products.
Oh, I keep hitting the wrong button. There we go. Oh yeah, now this is the important stuff.
Right.
Here's the science. Here's the science.
Nitrogen. What does nitrogen do? It promotes rapid growth, leaf development, chlorophyll formation, the green up, and protein synthesis. Your phosphorus, which most turf has a lot of phosphorus in it. The soils have phosphorus in it.
In our area in particular,
yeah.
It's very high phosphorus.
But it plays a key role in early root development. So a lot of times products with if you're getting a fertilizer with higher phosphorus, is because perhaps you're seeding or you're sodding. So it accelerates maturity, stimulates blooming, and aids seed formation.
And P.S., the only way you can legally apply a fertilizer with a higher phosphorus in it is if you are using seed, and that's by law. That's by
right,
law.
or a soil test.
Yeah.
If your soil does show a deficiency in it, you can.
Okay, and then the potassium.
The potassium really builds the cell walls, and that's why it's used a little more heavily during summer and late fall. We really like to really kick it in, or in fall in general. We want to kick the potash up in the soil and into the root systems, and they build the cell walls to get them through either the dormancy and heat of the summer, or of course the freezing cold during the winter.
Okay, here we go. And then, oh yeah, Chalet programs.
Yeah, to talk about our programs, each round that we have is designed for a reason. Our goal is to build a nutrient bank that sustains quality both naturally and with additives that create a healthy soil profile for turf root systems. We truly believe in the soil. Without a great soil profile, the turf will fail.
And one of the things is that you always emphasize is that the go-to when our professional people come out is to go organic.
Correct. We do have what we call traditional, but it might be considered a synthetic program, but we always push the organics because it does so much more for your lawn.
And we're going to go over that right now.
Right.
Here we go.
So here's
round one.
They use an 18-0-18. Again, it's 13% is nitrogen. So 5% you might have it where it would be a bridge product. And round one, but it's the 8%, the potash or the potassium that really brings it out of the winter and helps build those soil root systems going into spring before we, let's go to number two.
Yeah, and this can be as early as March, and then
right.
But usually April 15th is that target to get round one.
Right. So, and mid-April, we start putting the fertilizer down. Now, this is the only synthetic fertilizer that we use within the organic program, because you can't put a weed preventer and you can't put the grub control, which is the acelepryn. You can't put that on an organic piece. It just absorbs to it and it never actually releases into the soil. So we do use a synthetic. And at this time, it sounds high, 30% nitrogen, but in reality, we still only put 1 pound of nitrogen down per 1,000 square feet on your soil. So it goes down virtually almost at the same rate as just about any other application.
And what's interesting is when you're talking about the difference between synthetic and organic, Synthetic are coated particles. The particles are
Right.
coated. So each time it rains or each time you add water, a little bit dissolves
Right.
off. So that's why the number has to be so high.
Right.
But on, on organics, the numbers are lower because the microbes break it apart, and it takes 6 to 8 weeks for the microbes to break it apart, put the nutrient in the soil solution so the roots can soak it up. So
Right.
I always like to explain that about the difference, and that's why the numbers are so different. People are like, wow. So when you understand that, it really helps.
In the springtime, it picks, your turf is more active. It'll actually take up more nutrients in general. So even if seems like a higher nitrogen, it'll take it up and it'll use it.
And the classic time to start fertilizing and to make sure you don't get weeds, and that you also want to prevent insects, is that April 15 date. So that's why you want to put your pre-emergent weed control in, your fertilizer, and with the new acelepryn grub control, you can actually do it early. You can do it as early as April. You don't have to wait till July like you used to.
Right. We found that April is the best time. Also, from our program perspective, we do not use this product in shaded lawns. And we don't suggest putting down a weed preventer, nor do we suggest putting down a grub control in your shaded lawns, especially the weed preventers. A lot of times your weed preventers will end up doing what is known as root pruning to your fine fescues. It's the type of grass that grows in the shade.
Yeah. So isn't that nice to know if you have a shade lawn?
Yeah.
Oh,
So she's a straight fertilizer.
Yeah. Okay. Now round three.
Round three, we're going into summer, and as you can see, it's a 10% nitrogen, which is all organic, 2% phosphorus, which is naturally found in this particular fertilizer, and 8% of your potassium. The idea behind it, again, is that we're building the cell walls. The 10%, what would be nitrogen, is really feeding your microbes as far as the nitrogen would go. They pick that up, and it's available to the plant without stressing your plant. So it's very important at this particular time, within this June, July, to make sure that you put down a product that is all organic.
Cool.
So
here we go.
And weed control is included. And at this time of the year, we consider several things: summer dormancy, heat, moisture, heat tracks, localized dry spots, and diseases. And again, more will come on that. Here's the summer dormancy. As you can see, someone says, "Oh, my lawn turned brown, you killed it." No, it's gone brown because of the dormancy. Turf has 2 rest periods. It has a winter rest period and a summer rest period. We force our lawns because we want them to be green all year. But in reality, the grass plants a lot of times likes to take a step back. So even with forcing your lawn, forcing the green, watering and what have you, your lawn still may discolor a little bit, and that's natural.
Well, it has, especially this summer, because of that, what we talked about, the soil heat. And when it's just too hot, you could have been watering every day, and with the high soil temperatures, the grass wouldn't have taken the water up.
It can't take it up.
Yeah. So okay, we'll keep moving. And then here are other things.
Yeah, this localized dry spot. Sometimes everybody talks about their soil and they say, why does my neighbor's lawn look so great? Their soil, that we got the same soil they got. You don't even have the same soil on your own lawn. And that localized dry spots are little areas of soil that might have a different composure to it, and you end up getting what they consider localized dry spots, where it won't even take up water.
And we see a lot of that with the heavy clay component in our soils, because the clay really causes problems with that. And then this is really interesting.
And heat tracking, I think many times I go out during midsummer and we have customers that are saying, "Hey, listen, look what they may have, whoever it might be, it could be Chalet, it could be anybody, look what they did to our lawn." This is a matter of the lawn was dry, the grass blades became dry, did not take up moisture. The crown of the plant is still fine, but it actually cracked the grass blade, but the grass blade just stays there and turns brown. And basically the crown of the plant is still okay, and it's going to send out new shoots, but it just takes time. It takes moisture and what have you to bring this back.
And this is so often misdiagnosed.
Right.
That, and people come in to the store all the time with photos saying, look what happened. And we're seeing so much of the heat tracking this year in particular because of the high soil temperatures.
Well, even with, I've seen it with your postman, as he's walking, the mailman, as he's walking, and every day he walks on the same area,
track.
And you can actually see his footprints because that'll actually even crack it. That's enough way to do it.
So, okay, here we go. Now we move past that into the round 4.
And round 4,
we're right in round 4 right now.
We're right there. It's a higher concentration in nitrogen because going into fall and the cool season, our lawns are starting to really say, we're coming back, and we need nutrients. We need nitrogen to get us going. You got to consider that nitrogen turns your lawn green, and it's the green that creates the food for the plant. This is nitrogen and phosphorus and potash are just nutrients. Your food is being developed by the sun that goes through photosynthesis. Thus, this time of the year, you want to do what you can to really get the grass growing. And as you can see, again, it's higher in nitrogen. We put a full pound of nitrogen down per 1,000 square feet at this point, but it also ends up with the phosphorus and potash. And your potash on the final one is 7. And we're just trying to, again, begin to build these cell walls as we're going in, coming up to the cooler temperatures.
And you're going to see your lawns really looking better and better. These cooler night temperatures and these longer nights that we have. And even just a week and a half ago, it was 85 degrees in the soil. This last Sunday, the soil temperature was down to 71. So things are going to change quickly, and we really want to give you hope for that. The other thing that's great right now is this is the time of year to do Core-Aeration.
This is the ideal time. I know people get it done in spring, and the only reason we ever suggest it in spring is if your thatch is 2 to 3 inches, if it's really thick. If you have normal thatch in your lawn, and again, I suggest this only in sunny lawns and in bluegrass lawns. If you go try and aerate in under trees, you're going to rip up that grass because that turf only has approximately, fine fescues, maybe 1.5 inches, their root systems.
Let's say that again, that if you have a shady lawn, don't core-aerate.
Right, you can seed, and everyone says, well, how do I get the seed into the soil? If you're in a shaded lawn, you can see your soil. You don't have thatch. Or if you do, it's very minimal. But normally, every lawn I've gone into in shade, I can see the soil. You'll make good soil contact, or how do you put with the soil?
And this
Intimate.
was Dr. Okay. Oh, Dr. Gardner. Doc Gardner was the professor of the turf class that I took. My girlfriend said, "Ooh, take a turf class. You'll meet these fun turf guys." And I was the only woman in the class, or girl in the class. And Doc Gardner was so funny. He goes, "If you want to have success with seeds, you have to have intimate contact with the seed, with the soil." So
and no truer words are spoken. I mean, I agree with him 100%. I mean, it's one of those things where if your soil is sitting in thatch, that's why aerations are important. If you're going to seed your lawn, aerations are important in areas where you have a lot of thatch, because you want to try and get the seed, especially into the holes that are created.
Intimate contact.
And that'll get the intimate seed.
Soil.
And your soil is always moving. So as the soil begins to those holes begin to close up, the seed is naturally kind of being covered. So.
And let's talk about this one. And here's the equipment, that Core-Aeration.
Yeah, the thing with aerations are we always go in 2 directions whenever possible. I mean, there are properties that are so small.
So across this way and then across that way.
You want to go in 2 directions. You're trying to get quite a few holes per square foot, as best you possibly can. The other things that you got to realize, though, also with the aerations, just to go over a little bit on the aeration, is it not only just opens a hole, it not only puts air down deeper into the soil, and not only allows moisture to go deeper in the
Oh,
soil.
here, let me do this. Here they go.
Yeah, what it also does is as you can see that in the middle picture, those holes where it actually took a plug of the root system of the existing grass out. And you got to consider the fact that your lawn always wants to be spreading. It wants to be alive. You take that out and all of a sudden it excites the lawn. The root systems, your rhizomes are able to spread within the soil, and it makes for a healthier lawn.
You can see that lower
Right.
diagram, and because with the plugs pulled out, oxygen can get down into the root zone, and really important in our heavy
Moisture.
clay soil.
Right.
Water can get down, and the fertilizer can get down in there,
Right.
and then the roots go, whoa, look how nice the soil is down deep down here, and then they
Right.
grow more deeply. So the deeper the root system, the healthier turf you're going to have. And I always love this quote. Ron Townsend was also, we knew him at the Chicago District Golf Association. And I love, this is a quote he made several years ago. The light at the end of the tunnel is core-aerification time, which is right now, and all the benefits that come from it. And so, we just love when you can core-aerate the lawn.
It's the best mechanical thing other than mowing your lawn that you can do to your lawn.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, and then last but not least,
Right,
is round 5.
the winterizer. Winterizing your lawn is important. Again, going into winter, you definitely want to build the cell walls, because the work you do in fall is what you're going to end up seeing in the following spring. Many times people who don't do anything in the fall, and then the next spring it comes and they say, well, my lawn, part of my lawn didn't come back. It didn't come back because the cell walls were not built up with the treatment that it needed.
So they weren't strong enough, and they
Right.
froze. When the water froze inside, it ruptured the cells.
Right. So, I mean, the thing of it is no matter what, you probably will always get a little bit of winter damage. I mean, there's no avoiding it no matter what you do. But for the most part, you're trying to reduce the amount of any damage that you could possibly be getting. So, and also on this particular round, we also, if the temperatures are allowable, we do weed control even when you're going into October and November. In fact, we'll be getting into it, but ground ivy is best controlled or they consider it best controlled when after the first almost hard freeze.
Yeah.
Because the plant itself all of a sudden says, whoa, we got to start taking the carbohydrates back into the plant. And what you're doing is once you put the weed control on there, it absorbs that into it.
It pulls it in faster, and
Right.
it dies faster.
You get much better control. And always remember, every weed control is a control. It's not eradication. You can never get rid of everything. It's almost impossible. They're all survivalists.
Yeah.
And they want to.
The other thing for this round is expect that to take care of the leaves.
Right.
The leaves are falling off the trees, and so you really have to be conscious. And our service really takes care of the leaves.
Yeah, we move the leaves. We move it, and if the customer isn't home by chance, we'll move it to one side, fertilize it, move the leaves back onto the other side and fertilize it. If the customer is home, a lot of times they'll just say, where do you want us to push it off to? We learned that we can't put it out into the street every time we do. We could get fined by whatever city. A lot of cities don't allow you, except for certain days, to put your leaves out on the street. So that's why we don't actually put them on the street, but we will move them because we want that fertilizer to get down into the soil.
Okay. Oh, and then back you
And this is a traditional program.
Talk about it.
This is a program that we don't always recommend. It's a good program. I mean, the product that says 1602, that is approximately 60% organic fertilizer anyhow. So we are putting some organics down, and that's on 3 applications, but it is what we would consider juice. and 40% of it is juice. So it's also a synthetic product, and that's basically what this program is. We have customers that, you know, don't believe in organic fertilizer for some reason, but we don't have a lot of people on this program. We truly believe in our organic program. This is a less expensive program, and maybe that's why, you know, people say they want to go less, you know.
So people have an option.
Right.
That's really good.
Right. So that's why we have it. It's a good program, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't, in my opinion, compare to the organic fertilizer program.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Oh, I keep doing that. Oh, okay, then this is.
This is our position in the lawn care industry, has always been looked upon as leaders by our clients, vendors, and competitors. But the one thing I wanted to say is that when we come out to your lawn, we observe your lawns and notate what we see every time we walk on a client's property. This gives us a complete picture of what our products are doing. So we scout a lot. We'll go out and we'll scout lawns. We'll say if we had any problem lawn, we head back to that property. We can hit it as many as 3 or 4 times ourselves, just scouting it. And of course, our guys are on that 5 times a year. So there are situations. This year has been challenging. So you know, there's been problems, but
again, it's Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then this is what can Chalet's you know, soil and turf department do that a do-it-yourself customer can't do, and that may need?
Right, and there's certain products that we're able to use. There's and again, you know, storing. We store the products. You know, a do-it-yourselfer has to store it over the winter. And of course, sometimes we work with do-it-yourselfers. I mean, we also talk to clients from the store, or someone from the store will call us and say, this client has a problem. Can we go out and look at it? We'll go out and take a look at it.
I call them all the time.
Yeah, we go out and look at it, and then we don't charge anything for that service. We will go out and, because sometimes if you bring in a problem into the, you may find it, you know, I'm sure Jennifer will find it, but it may only be a small portion of what's over the entire lawn. There could be multiple things that are causing a problem. So by going out and actually looking at the lawn, you can see other aspects that are creating a problem.
On site really makes a big difference.
It does.
Because you see the bigger picture.
Right.
You know, and on the screen that you're looking at, this is the web page on Chalet's website, and you would go to there's an area on the screen just before this that says landscape. You click on it, and then it talks about all the different services, and then this is talking about the soil and turf, you know, division, and then you would just that's the web page in the blue on the screen. It's on your handout if you want to just cut and paste that, and you know, on your computer screen, or type it in. That'll get you to the soil and turf department, and you can fill out the form. Oh no, you know what? There's a form before this page. It's called Landscape Services, and that's what you fill out. You answer the questionnaire. It's like 4 questions, and you know, your address, your name, your phone number, your email address, and then someone will contact you to set up to give you a bid. You know, if you're interested in, you're tired of doing the work yourself and you want the soil and turf department to do it for you.
Or if you just want an aeration, we will do just an aeration. We will come out and do an aeration.
And this is the time.
Right, then this would be the time, because that is very difficult for a do-it-yourselfer to try and put you know, I don't know, it's maybe a couple 100-pound
this
aerator.
Machine is really heavy.
Yeah,
and
it has to be to go in the soil.
When you turn it on, it'll drag you away.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's almost impossible for me to do it. We actually had one time where we were live on television with Tracy Butler and doing a talk back, and Bill ran the Core-Aerator into the sign at the curve.
I had never run that particular aerator before, and it took off on me.
He still he can't live it down. Everyone, and everyone was watching it because it was a live segment.
Well,
So,
the guys up at North Chicago, where our office is, they had it on TV to see. And when I came back, boy, did I catch flack on that one.
So it's worth having a professional doing the core aeration. Okay, let's keep moving in. Okay, so now, fall lawn care. I'm gonna just kind of take over and talk about what the do-it-yourself or the homeowners can do. And this year we're titling fall lawn care how to fix the bad months, because the months were so bad in June and July and August that the things you have to focus on. September is the time to fix it. And so for many years, I always talked about the weeding, seeding, and feeding of September. And what that means is you want to kill the weeds, you want to apply seed, and you want to put the fertilizer down. Not necessarily in that order, but that's the weed, feed, and seed. Instead of the eads of March, it's the eating of September. But I like to recommend that you fertilize first, then you kill the weeds, then you put the seed down. And I like to encourage people to get that fertilizer down, especially as the cell temperatures are dropping, and our air temperatures are dropping. It wakes the plant up. I say, wait 2 weeks to see how it fills back in, then decide exactly how much seed you need to put down. Because a lot of times any patch or brown area in the lawn that's less than 6 inches, the healthy grass alongside it will grow 3 inches in each direction. You might not even need to put seed down. So again, get that fertilizer down first. And what that does is that revs up the metabolism, not just of the grass plants, but also the weeds. And then when you put that hormone, and that's what a weed killer is, it's a plant hormone, and you put that on the weeds, they suck it in faster and they die more quickly. So that, this is the time of year to do it. So now when you're doing it yourself, the benefit of doing it yourself is you can do your applications on the exact dates. You don't have to wait. Like if it warms up earlier in the spring, you can get that early spring fertilizer down sooner than waiting for a service. You can apply as many times as you need to, as far as like weed killers go. And you can actually have an exact focus on the area, of the certain areas of your lawn. And the other benefit is that our Chalet retail stores, we carry every product that you would need. And then we have a lot of staff here and we have the expertise to coach you on what to use and when to use it and how to use it. So those are the benefits of doing it yourself. Oh, this is great. I like to brag about, this was Bill's idea. Oh gosh, years ago. We won't talk numbers, but it was his idea.
Just a few years
ago. We should put together a lawn care calendar. And so you can see each month, it tells you what practices you should be doing. And if you hadn't done them the month before, it's on that current month. And so looking at September, you want to overseed, and, to get that initial establishment. You want to fertilize the first 2 weeks, and it's the most important time of year. If you're only going to fertilize one time of year, this is the time to use it. This is when the grass plants use the most of it. So, don't skip this one. And then core aerification is what you do. And then you want to do one more post-emergent weed killer on, if you've got the weeds. And if you have more than 30% of weeds covering your lawn, then that warrants using a granular weed and feed, where the weed killer goes over the whole lawn. If you have less than 30%, you just spot spray, and it's easy to do. And I'm going to talk about
I just want to mention one other thing about aeration, is the fact that it's great to seed at the time of aeration, but don't devaluate the aeration. The aeration itself is great. A lot of people say, well, I'm no longer going to get the aeration because it's too late to seed. If you end up with getting an aeration or decide in October, it's a great thing to get done, and it's very good for your lawn. So don't necessarily combine it with the seeding. It doesn't have to be seed with an aeration.
It's one of the best things. And
Right.
and just to emphasize this, you know, you never, ever, ever, ever dethatch, never,
Right.
ever, ever dethatch a lawn ever again. That is so old school. And there's so many companies out there that still do it. Kind of the old guys, you know, old companies, but Core-Aeration is the only way to go to help eliminate thatch. You never dethatch. And my analysis of an analogy of a dethatching is you need a haircut and you go to someone, they pull clumps of hair out of your head. Well, you have less hair, but it looks terrible. And that's what dethatching is. You're out raking all this, you know, the thatch out of the lawn. And they usually do it in the spring, just when the grass plants are waking up. And it's like ripping hair out, and it sets the plants back about 8 weeks. You just can't afford that, you know, when you want to have
Right.
your lawn wake up.
It cuts into the crown of the plant.
It's terrible.
It actually tears right into that crown of the plant, so it makes it very difficult.
And so never, no, dethatching is never done ever again. So I had to throw that in. I didn't put this in any of the pages, but dethatching, no, no, no. Okay, so now, you know, and then we talked about this.
Right.
Can do it yourself and soil and turf be combined? We mentioned that a little bit earlier. And of course, you know, soil and turf can apply seed, and then the homeowner can overseed in, you know, a week or two in areas where there has been non-germination. And we brought that up because we want you to realize that's a normal thing. You
Right.
know, it always, you
Seed
know,
all seed doesn't germinate. And that's, I don't care whose seed, what seed you buy.
or if an area gets a little too
Right.
dry, you don't get it
Right. The
moist
seed
enough.
does germinate and then it dies off. There's so many things that can happen to seed. But seed is generally what, about a 50 to 70% germination rate.
Yeah.
And part of it is part of that goes to birds, you know, you put it down and birds have their share. But yeah.
We don't like to admit that.
Yeah, no,
birds are out there.
Yeah, they are there.
But the other thing that the homeowner can do is they can do the fertilizer application
Right.
after the core aeration. You don't have to have Chalet do that. So it can work very nicely together.
Yeah.
You know, so okay, here we go. And so then this is kind of the 4 steps to do in September. And this is in the order of when you do it. You fertilize, whether you're using organically based or synthetic. You eliminate the weeds and evaluate that percentage. If it's more than 30%, then you want to use a broadcast weed and feed. Other than that, just spot spray the weeds. And then Core-Aerate to cultivate the soil and remedy conditions that would cause thatch, and then overseed with that and improve grass seed. And it's a good thing to do at least every 3 years.
Right.
To introduce a healthier grass seed to an existing lawn. It's like getting a transfusion where you're putting more disease resistant varieties in. And that's one of the benefits of our seed. I'm going to talk about it a little more, but one of our benefits is it's analyzed and selected every year based on the 2 previous seasons of diseases. So we have the most disease resistant varieties of seeds and cultivars in our mixes that we sell. So it's really good to, you know, just to always do that introduction of fresh disease resistant seed. Right. Overseeding. And then for fertilizer, this is my favorite, and this is what our retail recommendation is. Just the best organic one that we have. It's a Spoma lawn food. It's organically based, so that it's slow release, long term. It is juiced, which means it has a little extra nitrogen. It's a 1505, and so you get a quicker green up, and then there's no phosphorus in it. And then even on the bag it says safe to use around kids and pets, and so people love that. People absolutely love that. And then we also sell NatureSafe here. We sell the 835, and it's excellent those first 2 weeks of September. And that's when the turf is actively growing. That's when the soil microbes are active. And then this wonderful NatureSafe feeds the microorganisms and provides the nutrients for the grass seed. Let's go further here. A winter fertilizer, you can use the NatureSafe 835, or you can use Milorganite. And Milorganite, I love the official term about this. It's composted biosolids, and made from Milwaukee sludge. But it makes the lawn more drought resistant the following summer. And it also can have an effect for repelling rabbits and deer in your garden, in your lawn. They don't like the odor of it. So it sometimes works really well for that. And then again, we've talked about synthetic versus organic, with the silent turf programs. You have that option yourself of, buying a synthetic form or the organic form. And to be real honest, the grass plants could care less whether it's synthetic or organic. But what's important is the soil microbes. Soil microbes are increased and actually benefited by organic fertilizers, whereas the synthetics are more salt-based and they can actually lower the number of microorganisms. They'll eventually come back, but that's why we like to encourage people to use those organics. And then you actually have less disease problems if you're using organically based fertilizer than using synthetics. And so here we go. Cool season turf grasses. This is the Mason-Dixon line. And Bill and I were discussing and going through it over. And he said that line is creeping upward, upward because of our climate change. So that used to be the traditional area where you had cool season grasses up and they're active when the soil temperatures are less than 70. And so that means they're active in the spring and the fall. So that's why you do your most fertilizing in the spring and the fall. Warm season grasses are things like crabgrass, Bermuda, and zoysia.
Zoysia, even though it grows here, it likes the.
But the majority of ours are cool season grasses because they're the ones that survive our cold winter temperatures. And then these are the types. It's Kentucky bluegrass, fine fescues, and perennial ryegrasses. And then since we're talking about cool season, I just want to mention again the effects of hot, dry weather on a cool season turf, which is what we've been dealing with. We had only a ½ inch of rain in April, only a ½ inch of rain in May. We had 4.5 inches in June, but only over a 5-day period. The rest of the month was extremely dry, excessively dry in July, and excessively dry in November. So we talk about this is the worst you've seen ever.
It's so hard on I think on almost all plants when you have excessive amount of water and then nothing. Yeah. I mean, if you get a little bit of water and then not much and then a little bit, but if it's spread out at least, but when it's not spread out, very
terrible.
Yeah, it's very hard on plants.
Yeah. So at the average soil temperatures at 2.5 or 2 inches were above 75 in July and August. And at those temperatures, the roots slow down and it results in what we call hidden turfgrass stress. And it's also called root dysfunction. So then that causes the decline of the turf, dying back of the turf, and it's known as turfgrass stress. Everybody's lawn has been in turfgrass stress for the past 2 months. And then the other horrible thing is the low rainfall resulted in the creeping bentgrass, which is a weed in our lawns. It usually, in the hot temperatures, it's a warm season grass. It grows up over the cool season grasses, and it looks nice and light green. But when it's this hot and this dry, it browned out the 3rd week of July, and you just saw areas that were just brown, and it looked like it died overnight. And when you tried to pick it up, it was just strings of this creeping bentgrass. So, none of this has been managed by supplemental water at all. So it's been a bad year. One of the things that showed up was, the annual bluegrass weed in our lawn, and it's a nice lighter green, and it was really beautiful through the spring. But then when it got so hot, and especially this was like the 3rd week in July again, all of the annual bluegrass just died out, and it left big brown 6-inch circles all over the lawn. And it was either the annual bluegrass or another one is also an annual, is called rough stem bluegrass. And man, it looked terrible. And then it gets anthracnose, which is a fungal disease that breaks down dead and dying tissue. And so then this is what it looks like. And then that's what it looked like on a golf course. And that's exactly the same thing it looked like in our lawns. And then the only diseases the majority of the diseases that we've been seeing this season have been the blade diseases. And those are things like powdery mildew over on the far left. And it had the white mycelium growing on it. And then dollar spot, and, in the center, and then rust and red thread. I don't have a picture of thread, but rust on the cool season grasses. You can see when you walk through it, your shoes got rusty colored or red. And then that picture down below is that bluegrass, or the annual bluegrass again. And these are the majority.
Rust was the worst that I've seen it this year.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And that happened when it was really high humidity. That high humidity, that hot heat.
Yeah.
I mean, the mycelium just broke out all over the place.
Up.
The samples were
Right.
so cool.
Yeah.
Putting them under the microscope. Oh my gosh, my hands were orange. It was really, but anyway, but the interesting thing is, and here's the dollar spot. We saw dollar spot early, we had dollar spot late. And the reason I call it dollar spot is that the little circles of dead in the grass are the size of silver dollars. Don't you love
Right,
it?
but they can get as large as 8 inches wide. I've seen them where they
they coalesce, yeah. But that was the biggest problem early. Again, we saw it identified as early as July 30th out on the golf courses. And then I wanted to talk about the rust thing. I should have had this in the rust slide, but this was from one of the universities, where fungicide applications made before the fungal rust infections become rampant can really slow the disease down. But if people didn't put them down in May when they should have, and then what happens is the time and the expense really are seldom justified. So what it usually is a fleeting late summer problem when it's so hot and so humid. And so it can be better managed by just satisfying the nutrient needs of the grass in early fall. So we're there right now. And one of our favorite turf specialists always used to say this to us, that now's the time to suppress the fungus and grow the grass. So that means, put a fungicide down just to suppress that fungus, and then fertilize, get that grass to grow out of it.
Yeah, that's generally anything that is, and that's really even true with dollar spot. You can try and you go after dollar spot or many of these funguses before you ever see them. And so we always have questions from customers. Why would you put a fungicide down? I don't have fungus. Well,
it's preventative.
It's preventative. You got to hit the mycelium and hit those diseases before they become active. Once you see it, then you're just trying to suppress it, and then you try and grow it out with fertilizer.
It's like wearing face masks,
right?
Prevention. Okay, now I put this in because people have been seeing so many mushrooms this summer. So it's fairy ring, and fairy ring is active in the summer heat. And midsummer is when we typically see it, and it's usually in an area where there are tree roots. Tree has been there and the roots are breaking down in the soil beneath. And when it was so warm, oh my God, the mycelium, and it was breaking down those dead roots that were in the soil. And this is usually what people would see. And as far as the mycelium would grow, out where the trunk of where the roots were, and then the mushrooms would come up. And people want to know how to take care of it. And Bill has the best solution.
Yeah, you just take your probably your driver if you're a golfer, and practice your swing on them. Because that's the only way you can get rid of them.
Hit them out of the yard. Yeah. Now, we have had pretty good luck with doing an application of sulfur. You can do a garden sulfur, and we can get by doing that because our soils are so alkaline. Our pH is so high that we can get by doing that. And if you just use a regular garden sulfur, it's a granular, it usually lasts 6 months and preventing the preventing the mushrooms from coming up. That's the fruiting structure of the fungus. You're never going to stop the mycelial growth down below the soil. But just to explain, I wanted to show you that this is what was going on. And then the patch diseases, this is brown patch and summer patch. It's usually, and also the dollar spot, sclerotinia, rhizoctonia, and then magnoportha. And we didn't see a lot of it this year because the time when it was active to inoculate the grass was in May, and we were so dry in May that we didn't have that inoculation. So, and we've talked about this, so I'm gonna skip through this, but the most important thing is if you've had those patches in years past, look at in May, pay attention in May. If there is a lot of rain, then that's when you want to treat with the fungicides. And the fungicides are the systemic ones, like Immunox, it's myclobutanil, or infused is propiconazole. There are also granular forms of both of those. The propiconazole, that's from a Scots company. And again, best used in spring in May, like 1st of May, mid-May, and the end of May.
Right.
Okay.
If you hit those 3 times, you probably are going to be fine.
Yeah, you'll really prevent a lot.
Yeah.
It's really great. Oh goodness, I keep getting on the wrong part of the screen. Of course, the Zoom lady's making fun of me now. Okay, there we go. Now, people are worried about chinch bugs because we had so many chinch bugs last summer, but we're seeing just very few.
It's not as much this year. Why, I'm not sure, but it must have been the dryness.
I think it's the heat and dry.
Right, chinch bugs don't like moist soils, and that there's a fungus in the soil that affects the larvae. And the chinch bug.
And the only way to really tell is to use this test. You cut like a tomato juice can on both ends and stick it into the ground and fill it with water. And if you've got it, the adults and the larvae will be floating up. The other thing you'll see is where the larvae have chewed on the grass edge, it's tattered and yellow. So you look for that and see yellowed leaves, it's on the edge of where the damaged areas of active chinch bugs.
You can also pull that apart, and sometimes you'll see a number of chinch bugs just moving around, going around, and they do inject your grass blade with something where it actually kills the grass.
That's why it turns brown and yellow and then brown. And then if you do see them in the test, then you want to use it's called this is from BioAdvanced, or it used to be Bayer, and it's the advanced gone. It's 24-hour grub control, and it's Dilox is the active ingredient that you can buy that retail, and then it kills the insects that are there in 24 hours. But only lasts in the cell for 3 to 5 days. Right. So, but it is a really quick effect. And this is the same thing you use if you have grubs this late in the season, and I'll show you that. The preventative though, and you can use this now. It still will work. It's the Grub X, and it's called chlorine-trinyliprole. And what's nice about it, it's cleared for use on only 6 insects. So the 2 different grubs, the chinch bugs, armyworm, crane fly. We rarely see crane fly. Occasionally we'll see billbug, but those are the only insects, and it works not on the neurotransmitters, but on the calcium ports in the muscles. So, so this is one of the, I'm not supposed to use the term safer, but because, the EPA doesn't require a warning label on this. So even baby shampoo has a warning. It's warning, caution, and danger are the 3 different levels. There's no label on this at all. So a lot of people like this if they have pets,
even up in Canada where you can't buy
any sort of
insecticide or pesticides,
they can sell this.
I
forgot that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. And then these are what the grubs look like. And, this is the damage they cause. And the damage in the lower right is where the animals that are looking for them, they'll dig up. And then they're related to and here's the Dilox again. This was in my own lawn 2 years ago when this was the skunk that dug up looking for the one grub that was average per square foot. So the best thing to use to reduce that secondary wildlife pressure are the repellents. Repelzol is excellent. If you've never used a repellent, it's great. There's a liquid, there's also a granule. It lasts for 2 months, and you put it down on the lawn. We have it in a big bag. You can put it in a lawn spreader. Plant skeet is also very good, and it's a blood-based product, and you spray it, and it prevents the animals from doing any digging as well. The weeds, crabgrass has been a bad one this year. I think every crabgrass seed germinated, and then here
it's an annual, so it's on its way out. I mean, it dies
in the first hard freeze,
right?
But there's so much of it this year that it was terrible.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of seeds next year.
Yeah, the other weeds that we have been seeing are chickweed, dandelions, purslane, especially in the hot, dry areas, creeping Charlie, it's also known as ground ivy, and then speedwell or veronica, and it's real low growing and it just covers dry areas right on the ground. It's rewarding to pull because you pull the center and the whole thing comes up. And then nutsedge, and the nutsedge hasn't been too bad because it's been so dry this season, but and then violets. I've seen lots and lots of
Yeah.
people that have violets, and then white clover, and oops, there. Oh my goodness. My advancer doesn't want to work. There we go. The best thing to get rid of these weeds is the chickweed, clover, and oxalis killer. And that's the one on the right. It has triclopyr, mecoprop, and dicamba in it. And triclopyr is the active ingredient that's not in a lot of the other weed killers. So that's what makes this so effective. The Weed Meter Ultra is good to use once we get into temperatures down in the 40s. So Bill was talking about doing a late season application when you do the Winterizer. That would be the weed killer that you would use. And you can get it in a ready to spray bottle. You can get it in the concentrate, and the concentrate, that little concentrate bottle is enough to make 13 gallons of it. So you can really
Spray
take
a lot
care
of ground ivy.
And then this is the label. I wanted to show you with the label, so you can see where to find the active ingredients. This is the selective, or this is a non-selective weed killer. I should have the name changed, but you spell it's an iron hetida, and this will no, this is selective. This will kill weeds. This will kill weeds in the lawn, but it's earth friendly natural. Whenever you see bonite and it has that tan on the label, and what the iron hetida does, it causes the weeds to have iron toxicity, and it kills the tops. The roots will regrow again, and so you have to retreat every 6 to 8 weeks. But this is what you can use. And then when it's been so warm, then you want to use mesotrione for creeping bentgrass. Our soil and turf department actually uses a liquid form, but the creeping bentgrass has to be green for it to be effective. And then this is a great product that we discovered 3 years ago, where mesotrione, the granular form, was introduced by the company Syngenta that invented it, and Scott's got the contract for it. So you put this down, and you could use this as your September fertilizer. It acts as a weed and feed. It would also kill any of the creeping bentgrass if the creeping bentgrass hasn't totally browned out. If you still have some green parts on it, this will kill it, and it doesn't kill bluegrasses, perennial ryegrasses, or fescues. So it's great. So I like to tell people to use this now and do it again April 15. And it's pre-emergent weed preventer. Excellent product. These are the grassy weeds. I talked about the rough bluegrass and the annual bluegrass. Here's our seed, the Chalet seed. 1 pound is good for 300 to 500 square feet. 300 if it is bare soil, 500 if you're overseeding. It germinates in 7 to 21 days. You need to keep it consistently moist. That means water every day for 21 days. If you let it get dry 1 or 2 days in the middle of that, you got to start over because they'll die.
Right.
They'll die. And lightly cover it with topsoil, or really just keep it consistently moist as the seeds are in contact with the soil. And then I always used to joke that this is the right consistency to use this way. Go get a hot dog over at Irving's, and the way that poppy seeds are is exactly how and this used to be on the back of our seed bags. Little too little, just right, and too heavy. And the just right matches the poppy seeds. And that's Andy. When you go into Irving's, Jennifer sent you in to see how to do your weed, your grass seed. And then you're going to use a drop spreader or a whirlybird spreader to get even spreadage. And then the last thing you have to get really concerned about is supplemental water. If we don't get
Right.
if we don't get an inch of rain a week when the temperatures are 75 degrees or cooler, then you have to do supplemental, watering. And so that means, the best thing to do is set up your sprinkler system, put those pans out, and then time how long it takes to get a ½ inch in those pans. That's how long you need to run your sprinkler. And we just can't say 30 minutes because we don't know what your water pressure is. We don't know what your sprinkler head is like. We don't know the size of the hose. So you have to calibrate it. And really, you're just measuring how much water comes out of the sprinkler. So when you know how much you're getting and how much you're delivering, then you can do it right. And ideally 3 times a week. And then we'll skip this. I talked about it. And then the last thing we have to do is the final mow of the season. And that means you cut the blades down to 2 inches just to keep them from breaking over under the snow and freezing. And we just came in about 5 minutes over. This is what a great lawn looks like. This is one of the Bill's Soil and Turf Department's award-winning lawns.
Yeah. Nationally.
National. Yeah, national. And that was a shade lawn.
Yeah.
So to win for shade, whoo. And then just to wrap this up, here we go. Putting the lawn to bed properly helps it wake up healthy in the spring. So you all have stayed on very well. We had as many as 47 people. We still have 35. We promise we'll answer these questions. So let me, I'm gonna end the share, and then Bill and I will be up on the screen. Oh, there we are. Whoa.
Sorry if I frightened anyone.
And then let's do the question and answer. And it's going to come right in the middle. Oh, this is nice. It works great like this, isn't it? Okay, so Marie, is now a good time to plant grass seed in my lawn? And what kind? Well, hopefully the presentation answered that. And now is perfect.
Right, and if it's full sun, you would want an aeration so you can actually get the seed down into the soil. And if it's shade, if you can see the soil, put your grass seed down, your shade seed down there.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, you want to buy the seed that is specific for your your sun conditions. If it's sunny, that means you have sun on that spot on the line for 5 hours or more each day. If it's less than that, you can go to the sun and shade mix or the shady mix. And then we also have the extreme dense shade, and that is excellent under heavy shaded trees or buildings. And what's great is it hold up to foot traffic, and it hold up to the root traffic underneath the ground. Okay, so now let's, next one is Joni, and I'm gonna do this. Joan, I have lots of rose bushes that get beetles. I understand milky spores will eradicate the larva. Is that included in your program or a separate step? Milky spore, I'm going to go ahead and just answer that. Milky spore was a great thing when it was invented down in Baltimore, all right, and down south of here. And the milky spore is a type of bacteria that will, it infests the larva or the grubs that are in the soil, and then it kills them and then replicates and then puts all that in the soil. Unfortunately, milky spore does not overwinter here in our zone 5. So we don't even sell it anymore because it really is not that effective at all. So I don't recognize that. I mean, I don't recommend that, excuse me. I think you're better off using the Grub-X and then treat your roses so it doesn't attract the Japanese beetles. And there's wonderful products to do that. The Bayer or the Bio Advanced all-in-one rose care is excellent. And you make a drench with that, pour it where the root zone is. Japanese beetles come and they take a bite of the leaf and it kills them. All you find is dead Japanese beetles on the ground next to the plants. So that's the best way to handle that. Okay, next one. This is Joan again. How do you control the right amount of irrigation? Oh, well, we kind of answered that.
Right.
Okay, is there a way to measure to ensure not to overwater, that would lead to fungus or underwatering? Is there a monitor we can use? Well, I think we answered that in one of the last slides.
Right. The thing to consider is if you're worried about fungus, just make sure you're watering in the mornings. Don't water at night. That really makes a big difference. And always remember, you can add water, you can never take it away. So, I mean, when you're setting up your water, your system, you don't want your lawn to totally dry out, but on the other hand, you don't want it saturated.
And again, measure how long it takes
Right.
to get a half inch in each of those
That's the
containers,
important part.
and then do that 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked that question. Then this is Susan, and I recognize her email. Okay, I have crabgrass in some areas now. How do I treat the lawn to get rid of it? Can I overseed after treating crabgrass? Yes, you can. And there are great crabgrass, killers. Crabgrass is an annual weed, and it will die after the first hard freeze. But this year there was so much of it, it was covering so much that it's really impacted, our lawns. So, come in. There's a great product. It's a hose and sprayer. It's called Extreme Crabgrass Killer from Bio Advanced, and it is excellent. And you just put it in the hose, spray, and it will kill the crabgrass in 10 days. And then you can oversee the areas. Perfect timing. But I would put some fertilizer down first. Okay.
Right, get it
And
going.
then Cece says, this is Susan. Yeah, Susan, I recognize your email. So I saw that even before you said this is Susan. Okay, Marie, we have another question from Marie. And Marie is, so you core-aerate the lawn first, and then you put on grass seed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
That's correct. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because you want to open up areas of the soil, like Doc Gardner said, you want to have intimate contact of seed with soil.
Yeah.
So that, okay.
Sounds
So then,
just like them.
and then, don't I?
Mhm.
And then Tev Bond, how does a long winter snow affect your timeline for the April applications? Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, from year to year, you never know how it's going to affect, when you're going to be able to get started. And generally we get started about the second week in March. I mean, there was one year we got started the beginning of March, and there was one year where we waited till the beginning of April.
Because if there's snow, you really can't put it down.
If we put fertilizer, you can put fertilizer on top of snow. The problem is when you're using the spreader over snow, it takes the wheel to turn to be able to spread the impeller, and the wheel just slides over. So all you're doing is pouring your fertilizer out. So it doesn't work.
Oh gosh,
So,
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, it's kind of a pain.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now this is Tab Bond again. I recently became aware of bent grass, and it is taking over my lawn, and I had not noticed previously. What's the best method of removal? Well, the best method is mesotrione, and it was developed 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I researched that. It was 20 years ago, and that's the liquid form. But 5 years ago, they came out with the granular form, and I talked about that at the end of the presentation. That's the Scott's Step 1 for seeding. They also have a smaller bag that's called the Scott's Triple Action for seeding, and it's good for 4,000 square feet. It's the exact same formula. And then the larger bag, the Scott's Step 1 for seeding, is good for 5,000 square feet. But that's what I would recommend, using it now and then using it again next as your April 15 application, and you'll really knock it back. It depending on how much you have, though. If you have a large area, you might want to talk to our soil and turf department to have a treatment, but they won't treat now. They'll wait to treat next July is the first time they can get out and do that. Okay, good question. And then anonymous attendees. I love those. Okay, and then here we go. All right. I have several tasks I know I need to complete for my lawn this fall. Is this the correct sequence to take on these tasks, or would you approach it a different way? Number one, dethatch. Oh, no dethatching. I hope you heard me at the end. No, it's core-aerate. Fertilize. I would fertilize first, fill in low-lying spots with top dressing, overseed and seed low areas that were filled. No, none of that is right.
Right.
Well,
you definitely don't want to
no dethatching.
Basically the aeration will begin to help, and again, it's year to year. It's not like 1 year you aerate and it takes it out. And same thing even with dethatching. If you dethatch, it'll tear some of it out, but it's still not going to get all that thatch out irregardless. The The other thing is that you want to probably fertilize right after you've aerated. You want the fertilizer to get down in the holes. If you're going to seed, you'd probably want to use the start like that step 1 fertilizer instead of using a regular fertilizer. Use that because you also want the seed to germinate, but you don't want the weeds to come in, and that's perfect for that. So that would be the method of.
And I think anonymous attendee, you put another message here on in Oak Terrace. So I'm gonna copy this down, and we'll have somebody contact you to come out and give you a bid, okay? And I'm hoping that you're the same person. I kind of think you are. And so I'm going to leave that one up. Okay, and this is from Lexi. Can the espoma burn the lawn if over applied? You know, theoretically, any fertilizer can burn a lawn if over applied, but when you're working with an organically based one, it's usually not, you know, where I find more of a problem is if you don't overlap it enough, you get yellow stripes. You get yellow stripes where it didn't get fertilized. But I've never seen it burn. I've never seen
Generally
it burn.
speaking, most of your organic fertilizer, you would have to cover the grass blade to harm the grass.
That'd be like 2 inches
Right.
deep of fertilizer.
Generally, the fertilizer,
you never do that.
when they're juiced, they have the possibility, but when you think about how much is actually it's juiced or the nitrogen in there, it's very low.
And it's slow release nitrogen.
Right.
So no,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it, Lexi. Good question though. Really good question. Okay, then the next one is McCute. I can't read that. Help, I have field bindweed in my lawn. Oh, well, field bindweed, it can be either an annual bindweed or perennial bindweed, but any of the weed killers will take care of it. Even the chickweed clover and oxalis, just spray it after you fertilize the lawn, and it'll get rid of it. It'll get rid of it. Easy.
It's a broadleaf.
Yeah, absolutely. Not difficult at all. And this is McCutie, it looks like, or McCutech. And okay, so that's good. You had, aren't the questions great? Okay, and then this is Donna. Oh, I didn't do that one right. Okay, Donna, I have a request into Chalet for our landscaping services for a front yard. Would they be able to quote me also on lawn issues?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, someone separate will come out, but by having that in there, we'll set up so that we can come out and take a look at it. That should be no problem.
Excellent. And it says, okay, it's extremely compact and aerated in August already. Well, cool.
Yeah, well, so just so it gets aerated.
Can we do this again? Can we do this again in November and now? I don't know what that last question is. Donna.
Can you redo the aeration? You could towards the end of October.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, and then I'll leave that up, and then, well, let me just. Okay, well, we don't have the information on it, so it's Donna. Okay, we'll figure that one out. Okay, now this one is David Levine. Should I rake out the dead grass now? No. That's like dethatching. That's like, oh, well, okay. If it's creeping bent grass and it's dead on top, but be careful when you say rake. You're just going to lightly rake because you just want to pull those strands off the top, and and just one of those little tiny leaf rakes, not the great big iron rake. Don't get down into the grass or into. Just use a leaf rake to get that the dead grass that's laying on the top. Yeah, and then and get that off, and then put your fertilizer down and do your weed killing. Okay, and then Don Joanne, when you say water in the morning, what is the earliest hour to turn on the irrigation system?
5 o'clock. Yeah, I would say 4 to 5 o'clock would be fine.
We usually turn on at 3 a.m. and it finishes by 7 a.m. That's fine.
Yeah, even that's
automatic.
Fine.
It's automatic.
Right. You're going into the day where when you put it in the evening and it goes into the evening, you end up getting a lot of humidity and pressure around the grass blade. And that's where you end up getting diseases. When you do it in the morning, it's going into a drier period of the day, and that all dries out, and the lawn has a chance to take up the water without it being overexerted because of the sun and what have you. So that's the best time to do it, is early morning, 3 o'clock to 7.
Yeah,
It takes
fantastic.
that long, and that's a good time.
Especially when it's automatic.
Right, and the pressure, your water pressure is better at that time generally.
Yeah, nobody's
So,
nobody's
right,
showering.
yeah,
No one's in the
hopefully,
shower.
yeah.
Okay, Judith Kehoe, can we get a copy of your presentation? Well, you got the handout, and then it's posted on Chalet's YouTube channel. So, and it's there 24/7, and you can always go back and watch it, and you can freeze frame it, and so we don't give out the PowerPoint program, but you can always see it again on the Chalet YouTube. Okay, then Lexi, here's Lexi again. And Lexi, I don't know exactly what type of grass I have, but we have a lot of clovers and violets. I've tried various weed killers, but they generally hurt the lawn. Is Weed Beater good for all lawn types? I would use the chickweed clover and oxalis to spray all those weeds, and then that will get rid of them. And the magic ingredient is triclopyr.
Right, and violets, you generally want to try and get them in spring before they flower. If you can hit it at that point, because they do have a woody corm, and this is the way it actually hits it much better. So if you spray them now and you kind of knock them down come spring, you'll get some of those violets back.
Just because of the corm.
Right. I would just spray them with the same, this chickweed.
Yeah, that chickweed, clover, and oxalis.
Right.
That's great. Okay. Great questions. And then this is iPad 5.2 or 52. How far will your services go south, Will County? Oh, I'm going to have you answer that. Will County.
What would be the town in Will County?
Well, Will County's Joliet.
Oh,
I don't.
Well, we've gone as far as Naperville.
I think Will County's too far.
Is it? Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Might be. Yeah.
I'm sure it's too far.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay, and then there's Lexi again. And did you say a half inch of water every other day for watering? Is this all season, even when really hot? Well, that's the half inch of water every other day is when it's really hot and really dry. And when we're in temperatures in the 70s, then 2 times a week, and it would be, so you're getting an inch, the equivalent of an inch of rain a week.
Right. You want to cut back during the fall because evaporation is not as drastic as it is during the heat of the summer. It evaporates right up. So, you have to do it accordingly.
Okay, and we had one chat. I'm gonna, and we're gonna leave this other one up so I can copy all that. But then we have one chat, and let's see what the chat one was. Okay, I have a pretty large area flanked my driveway and sidewalk that is completely dead. It has died. Should I wait to just dig it out and reseed? And this is from Lori, and I don't know what time this was, Lori.
It's along the drive. Is that what you?
Yeah, a large area flanked my driveway and my sidewalk that has completely died.
This would be the time if you're going to take it up, or if you seed into it, you can have it slit seeded into it, a slit seed machine that slices into whatever has died there. Your probably best bet is to take that up and just reseed that whole area. You're always going to find that along sidewalks and driveways, it can be an issue for a couple of reasons. One, of course, is the heat from the concrete or the pavement, and number 2, a lot of times the stones that they use underneath the sidewalk or your pavement actually spread into the soil, and that picks up the heat, which harms the root systems.
And it doesn't cool off at night.
Right. It just can't handle the constant heat, and the stones will help to dry things out. So that's
Good question. Hey, everybody. And we got a thank you from Tev Bond. Thank you, Tev, for giving us a thank you. And we did go over, but we covered, I can't do that. We covered a lot of information, and I did this wrong. Okay, here we go. Don't you love? There's my, okay. So here, I'll do this. I have to get to my turn off button. That's what I'm trying to find. I closed the chat box. There we go. So everybody, we still have, well, we still have 25 people left. Thanks for hanging on with us. And thanks for supporting our live webinars. Thank you to Bill
Oh, my
Leuenberger
pleasure.
for doing this with me.
We
And
hope it was very informative and we answered all your questions.
and you can always send questions to hello@chaleznursery.com, and they'll get sent to the proper people to do the answering. So that address again, and that goes to our customer call center, is hello@chaleznursery.com, and Chalet Nursery is all one word. So thank you, everybody, and we're gonna sign off now.
Yeah.
So wave goodbye, Bill.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. End webinar for all.